The perfect plan for revenge on her husband for cheating and new happiness. At the time this story was written, I was 28 years old and my name was Amy Raskind, née Bowers. I had been married to Bruce Raskind since I was 25, and he was 2 weeks short of his 28th birthday. I've been told that some readers of short stories like to have the main characters described to them rather than using their imagination. Bruce is 6 feet 1 inch, 185 centimeters, tall, weighs about 180 pounds, 82 kilograms, brown hair, hazel eyes, no facial hair and glasses, very good looking, a graduate of a top 20 law school in the United States. Most women would rate his looks a 9.9 on a scale of 10. I am 5 feet 9 inches, 175 centimeters tall, weigh about 135 pounds, 61 kilograms, caramel blonde hair, natural not dyed, blue eyes, no hair or glasses on my face, graduate of a top 20 university with a master's degree in nonprofit management. Being as objective as possible, I think most men would rate my appearance an 8 on a 10-point scale. However, the men I've encountered in my interactions with humanity have a wide variety of tastes, so for some, I'm a 9.5, for others, a 5.5. However, everyone will agree that I have a beautiful body and toned legs. What my first pet's name was, who I had a crush on in 5th grade, what sports I played, what my favorite color is, etc., are irrelevant to this story. The only 4 moments I will tell you about, because they have some relevance, are: 1. As I moved from one stage or situation in my life to the next, I was accused of pulling the pin from a hand grenade and throwing it into the previous stage or situation. 2. Tim Rowan, a very good-looking guy at my high school, was exposed as being of the wrong orientation in junior high. Because of the conservative society we lived in, he was ostracized by many of our classmates. I supported him. He was one of my best friends, and even went to prom with him to try to appease the haters. It didn't work. After college, he moved to the same metropolitan area where Bruce and I live, and he and I occasionally had lunch, but I never brought them together. 3. Bruce received a substantial trust fund when he turned 30. We have a prenuptial agreement with him, so if we divorce for any reason, I won't have access to his trust fund. However, it will give him significant funds to pay damages if I can successfully sue him for other reasons. 4. I get along well with everyone at the nonprofit organization of which I am the vice chair. I get along especially well with the chairman, Abel Aronson. Through brainstorming and working together, Abel and I have raised more than twice as much money and served more than 3 times as many underprivileged children as we did before we both started Bootstraps LLC. Over 90% of the money we raise goes directly to programs for children. Bootstraps has remote relationships with several faith-based organizations. The first 2 years of my marriage to Bruce were between good and great. Sex was good and frequent, and we both enjoyed the same activities and intensity. Soon after Bruce received his trust fund, he began to change imperceptibly, and then he began to change perceptibly. I'd always known Bruce wasn't the most tolerant person, but as a sign of apparent respect for me, he hid his prejudices well, except for his homophobia. I don't know what it had to do with the fact that he was receiving trust fund money, but he no longer seemed to care about his prejudices coming to the surface. The first time it really bothered me was when I overheard him talking to another attorney at a party thrown by his law firm. He was bragging about evicting a family of color from a house they were renting. I understand that people have to pay for their services, but that doesn't mean you should rejoice in the misfortunes of others, especially since this family had 3 young children. The way he talked about them and rejoiced in their desperate situation made me cringe. He was surprised that I didn't warm to him that evening. Another time, we were walking down a city street. A homeless man approached us, not aggressively but respectfully, and asked for a handout. I politely declined, but wished him well. Bruce went out of his way to knock the guy down, then laughed. When I called him boorish behavior, he got angry with me. During our relationship, he had hidden his temper well until his trust fund came into play. After a few minor displays, he demonstrated how much of an asshole he is when we were at a party chatting with a guy who was into basketball, and I made a statement recognized in the basketball world about how hard it is to rebound when playing zone defense. He commented, "Ha, what does a woman know about basketball?" I was taken aback for a second and then interrupted him as he was still saying something to the other guy. "What was that comment?" I bellowed. "I played for my high school and Division III college teams. You've never officiated a game in your life," I threw out. He later accused me of embarrassing him. I told him, "If you don't want to be embarrassed, don't say things you know nothing about." Things got even worse when we were at his parents' house on Christmas Eve, and his gift to me was a vacuum cleaner. Bruce's mom and sister weren't thrilled, especially since I had gotten him a dive watch, something he really wanted and was hard to get. When he came up to me before dinner and said, "I felt bad that you didn't thank me for my Christmas present," I pulled my car keys out of my coat pocket in the front closet and left, without that vacuum cleaner. The next day, I went to my parents' house for Christmas alone. All this time, I was wondering when to put a stop to what had become a failed marriage, because it was clear that he had no respect for me, and I had lost almost all respect for him. So 2 days after Christmas, I realized I had to break up. The only question was the timing. My company had a day off between Christmas and New Year's, and Bruce had to go to work. As I was cleaning the house, without my cherished Christmas present, I was rearranging things on the floor in the closets, something I hadn't done in a very long time. When I picked up the box, something fell out of it. It was a beautifully wrapped gift with a label that read, "For Cheryl, from Bruce." Since my name is not Cheryl but Amy, I decided I needed to investigate. I carefully opened the gift without ruining the wrapping paper and ribbon. Inside was an emerald necklace and a syrupy note. I immediately took the necklace to a local jeweler and asked for a quick appraisal. Not that it would hold up in court, I just wanted to know if it was a real emerald or a fake. After a cursory examination with a hinge, he said, "Yes, it's a real emerald and quite good quality, and the chain is 18-karat gold." "Just roughly, how much will it retail for?" inquired I. "Somewhere between $2,500 and $4,000, he replied. "It would take a more detailed analysis to be sure, but that's probably how much I'd go for." I had no reason to smile. But I did, considering that my cherished Christmas gift, which I knew was still at his parents' house, was worth $239.99. My smile showed no sign of remorse or doubt about pulling the pin. Back home, I rewrapped the jewelry and returned it to its hiding place. I suspected that the aforementioned Cheryl was a lonely paralegal working in his office. When we went to a New Year's Eve party thrown by one of the partners at his firm, and the paralegal Cheryl was wearing an emerald necklace, it was confirmed. That I kept a smile on my face and even kissed Bruce when the clock struck midnight is a testament to my childhood drama classes. Within 2 weeks, the affair between Bruce and Cheryl was confirmed by photographs and audio recordings taken by a hard-working private investigator I hired. Now I needed to come out of the divorce in the best position possible. I have a devious mind, so I devised a scenario whereby if he reacted as I expected, Bruce would be hurt in 2 significant ways. The first blow would be to his inflated ego, and the second would be to his pocketbook. To succeed, I needed the help of Tim Rowan and Abel Aronson. I had no doubt I could get it because they both liked me so much. Also, I needed someone else that I hoped Tim or Abel could recommend, because I didn't want to involve any of my female friends. I turned to Tim with a question about what I needed. He grinned broadly and laughed. "Considering what a loyal friend you've always been, I'd be happy to help, provided I don't have to have sex with you." For that, he got a kick in the ribs from me. "That would make you straight, fairy," I grinned, "but there's no chance of that." Then I went to Abel and told him what I needed. He was willing to help, but said, "You're going to have to leave our nonprofit organization. How will we thrive without you?" "Only for a few months. I think 6 or 7 months at the most," I replied with a smile. "Okay, I agree," he grinned. One more thing. Would you recommend a woman I could use as a fake therapist? Abel laughed, then hesitated. He wrote on a piece of paper, Joan Green. I think she'll be perfect. He grinned. Who is she? I asked. She's a drama teacher at Northwestern Community College. You might have to pay her, but I don't think she'd turn down the opportunity, Abel replied. Thus began my plan to divorce Bruce and come out of it in excellent financial health. For the next 3 weeks, I let Bruce know that I was having an affair. It didn't take him long to put a detective on me, a guy my detective recognized and consulted with me on how to bait him. When I realized the detective was on to me, Tim and I drove on Wednesday lunchtime to a Motel 6 in the suburbs, about 15 minutes away. We hugged each other at the door to room 112, he pulled out the key, and we went inside. In the room was Joan Green, playing a converted therapist. She was so good she could have come from Central Casting. At the beginning of the session on the video, she explained, So, Tim, this is the beginning of your conversion therapy into a straight man. I need you to confirm to the camera that you are not under any duress to participate in this, and Amy will be your witness. Can you do that? With a very serious look, I'm guessing that Tim has some acting ability hidden in him, he said, Yes, doctor. Simmons, I acknowledge that I am here of my own free will, have signed the appropriate documents, and relieve you of all responsibility. Why do you want to participate in this program? Asked Joan Green, a.k.a. Dr. Simmons. Amy has a friend who is interested in me. She is very sweet and nice, and I want to find a way to get Amy's friend interested so that I can eventually have a family, replied Tim in a very serious voice. Okay. I'm going to turn the camera off now because we don't want anyone else watching this session or even knowing about it except the 3 of us, Joan said, and turned the camera off. The 3 of us laughed hysterically for a while. Then Joan brought out sandwiches and drinks. We ate lunch discussing many things. All 3 of us got along very well with each other. And by the time we finished, 90 minutes had passed since Tim and I had entered the room. Tim and I thanked Joan. I paid her the agreed amount. And then Tim and I left hand in hand. We hugged, no kissing on the lips, and got into our cars. Joan waited another 20 minutes before getting out. The following Wednesday, Tim, Joan, and I repeated our ruse over lunch at a Holiday Inn in another suburb, and Bruce followed me. The first part of my plan worked. The following Monday, the bailiff served me with divorce papers at work, charging me with adultery. I made a big scene at work. Abel called me into his office, went through the papers, and in a loud tone, making sure everyone else on our floor could hear him, fired me for adultery. I left the office in tears. Inspired by Joan and Tim and using drama lessons as a child, I too was becoming a great actress. As I suspected, to save my ego, Bruce publicized my affair with Tim, even though the very day I was fired, I had recorded our affair on my iPhone. I cried as I explained to him that I was just helping a friend with conversion therapy. How stupid do you think I am? Now get out of my house, was his response. I didn't contest the divorce, but I hired the best defamation lawyer in the state and sued Bruce as soon as we had proof that Bruce had posted about my affair on various social media sites, told my family, people he worked with, including Cheryl, and acquaintances who worked at Bootstraps LLC. Since I saved a fair amount of money preparing for the situation I found myself in after sending out fake resumes to other people in the nonprofit community, I enjoyed myself. I was working out for 2 hours every day in the best shape of my life since I had played basketball in college, taking higher-level courses at the local university, lounging by the pool, and going to plays and clubs with my girlfriends. I hadn't had any real contact with men since Bruce divorced me. I was still hanging around. As part of my lawsuit against Bruce, my attorney took depositions from Tim and Abel. During Tim's deposition, my attorney played the tape made by Dr. Simmons during our 2 sessions, and Tim confirmed under oath that he actually liked guys, never had any relationship with me other than a platonic friendship, and quit conversion therapy after the second session because it was useless and he didn't really want to change, and only went through 2 sessions because I asked him to. During his deposition, Abel confirmed that I was fired because, in his opinion, the religious organizations with whom we had a relationship would find it scandalous that I was having an affair while married to Bruce, and as he understands it, evidenced by the fact that no one responded to my resumes, no one in the local nonprofit world would hire me. Abel also testified that I forfeited a significant year-end bonus related to my exemplary fundraising performance during the year. I provided documentation of my expenses since being kicked out of the home we shared with Bruce, and described how emotionally distraught I was over his false accusations of adultery and refusal to accept my honest explanations, verified by an iPhone video. To hurt Bruce, make him look bad at his law firm, and scare him with the possibility that his affair with Cheryl would be exposed, my attorney interviewed the managing partner of his firm. The manager was very angry that he had to attend the interview, and I hoped he would take it out on Bruce and Cheryl. The managing partner confirmed that he had heard about Bruce's allegations of adultery. Cheryl also confirmed that Bruce had told her about my infidelity. She was scared to death during her deposition because my attorney had hinted at her affair with Bruce but never brought it out. I also made sure that my lawsuit was widely publicized in the local media and that Bruce's firm knew about it. Shortly after the last deposition mentioned above was taken, Bruce's attorney called my attorney to schedule a meeting. We agreed, but only on our terms, essentially telling them that if they were not satisfied with the date, time, and place, we would meet them in court. I believe, this was confirmed by gossip heard later, that the managing partner of Bruce's firm had told him to agree or else, so the lawyer and I were total stiffs at the meeting. I ended up getting $500,000 from Bruce's trust fund. He paid all of my attorney's fees for both the divorce and defamation. I got 60-40 of the joint assets acquired during the marriage, and he paid to retract his adultery allegations in the local newspaper. He also retracted his allegations on all the social media sites he posted on and sent letters to Bootstraps LLC and all the companies I sent resumes to refuting his allegations. The check from his trust fund, the monetary aspects of finalizing our divorce, my attorney fees, the change of my name to Amy Bowers' maiden name, all the rebuttals, and the finalization of our divorce were received within 2 weeks. 2 days after all of this was finalized, I showed up at Abel's house around 6 in the evening. He smiled broadly when I entered, and I sank the hottest kiss I could into his lips. When we broke the kiss, he murmured, "I really missed you, Amy," and kissed me again, stroking my breasts with his hands. After I cried out, "Oh God, I missed making love to you so much," we got down to the serious business of having sex with each other until we passed out. "When can you move in?" he asked. "How about this Saturday?" I grinned. He grinned back and continued, "When can we start trying to have kids? As soon as you make an honest woman out of me, I'll stop taking the pill. But for decency's sake, shouldn't we wait a little while?" "Away with decency," he snorted. "Your lawyer told me your agreement is ironclad, and what came before it doesn't matter, whatever it was. Let's get married at the end of this month." I laughed. "I'll think about it while you have sex with me in your bed." We left. Gun cocked, grenade detonated. Happy life for me, but hopefully not for Bruce. The end. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you!